Joe.
Blackula.
And stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused.
And I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. You're tuned to Chicago's most popular college music radio station. 89.3 is WKKC. This is FocusTalk, the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show daring to make a difference in our communities. We're talking on a regular basis because the answers really matter. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about politics, religion, personal development, education, history, music, and then from time to time, we are spotlighting positive people who are doing positive things in the Chicagoland area, throughout the Inglewood community, as well as the entire United States. I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. Joining me in the studio today is TK. TK, how are you today, sir?
I am doing well, Dennis. Pleasure being here with you today.
Thank you so very much for being here. And then not only being here, but returning. The last time you were here,
Absolutely.
We had an opportunity to talk, but not for a long time. So I wanted to get you back and to lengthen that conversation and kind of unpack some of the nuggets of your organization, which is
Self-Centered Society.
Okay. And then bring about your history. Not only as a community leader, but several other things that you've done in life, and we want to talk about that, and then talk about where you are today. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
So, who is TK?
TK is Temel Karango, is a blessed name. You knew me years ago, some decades now, as Nathaniel McCreary. It's a blessed name, Temel Karango, which I've had even prior to that, and Temel Karango is the CEO and founder of Self-Centered Society.
Okay. Now, Self-Centered Society is what?
Self-Centered Society is an organization that was started out of a need for us as a black culture to be centered around ourselves. I always acronize self as the soul empowering life force. Some people use the term self-centered as a narcissistic or a conceited term. We at Self-Centered Society have turned that term to a positive in that we are, as a culture, in need of focusing our attention on ourselves to a positive end.
Okay. Now, TK, once upon a time, you were a preacher, a pastor.
Yes, sir.
So is it safe to say that you are still doing that, but it's in a different direction now, or explain that for me?
At one time, I was functioning as a pastor of a Christian non-denominational ministry called Ark Ministries on the south side of Chicago. And I have, if you will, evolved into still ministering, if you will, to people, in the sense that even as a pastor, you know me, I always had a motto that people didn't care how much you know, they want to know how much you care. So I still care for my people who I still find myself, if you will, ministering to. And so Self-Centered Society has a platform which is more comprehensive than I would have in the platform as a pastor.
So you say Self-Centered Society is more comprehensive?
Yes.
How so?
We deal exclusively with black issues particularly, but we're more comprehensive in that we're concerned about the economics of our people. As a pastor, I realized that even last year, the church had received over $250 billion, or $250 billion in the United States. But we have not empowered our culture economically. We have not equipped ourselves with legalities to ensure that the things that are continuing to happen in the black community are happening. And so comprehensively, we're dealing with that in Self-Centered Society.
So now, getting back to the pastoring portion, so now, just so that I'm clear,
Sure.
Do you no longer believe in God? or what is your focal point?
Yeah, as far as, let's address that specifically as far as a theological belief. I definitely don't have the orientation that I would as a Christian pastor, meaning that I don't believe in the doctrine or the tenets of the Christian faith particularly. I do believe in them historically and that they come from a more ancient historical context. So to answer to whether or not I believe in God, I definitely believe in a spirituality that no longer puts me in the context to claim myself as a Christian pastor.
Okay, so now as far as Christians, because we have some mothers right now who are just going, this baby not believing God.
Right.
So I want to explain that fully. So you no longer believe in the Trinity, or when you say doctrine, what does that mean specifically?
Okay, well, as a pastor, I studied at Moody Bible Institute. I was groomed to go to, I was there after supposed to go to Dallas Theological Seminary. I studied Greek and Hebrew. And in studying, let's say, the Hebrew text, in the book of Genesis, God is considered to be Elohim. Well, as a pastor and as a teacher, I had to understand that Elohim was a feminine plural term. And we would reason theologically as a Christian pastor that it was feminine. Well, we just couldn't explain that. But it was plural because endemic in that name was the Holy Trinity. Although we were controlled to have a certain constraint as far as how we were able to project that theologically, like the word El Shaddai, which means the full-breasted one. Once you start breaking down the history of where the theology came from, you realize that it came from a more ancient African context in which Africa looked at God as Mut or M-U-T or mother. And we start seeing that every man has come from a woman. I learned in the theological evolution of things that now God became father. If we break down the word father, it means the fat her, the impregnated one. The brother brought, the one who's brought by her. That there's no man who ever came into being, according to true facts in history, from a rib of a man. But theologically, I was taught to teach that women came out of the rib of a man, which had to be a feat that we are still unable to prove, and it's a miraculous theological doctrine holdings from Christians or from the theological stance, but it's not one I no longer hold.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, are you saying in no uncertain terms that God is a woman?
I'm saying that God is neither male nor female. I'm saying that the term God and the concept of God, the way we hold it, was one that was given to us from a Christian theological standpoint that was one that's designed to control us as a people.
Okay, so Christianity as we understand it or have understood it for years and years is incorrect?
I think it was more than incorrect. It is one that is fraudulent and one that is copied off of our more ancient ancestors. It would be to say that it's unoriginal. Let me say it that way.
Christianity is
unoriginal. It came from our ancient ancestors under Heru, Asur, and Aset, the first trinity that was ever known as far as a theological concept. Europeans, through several councils in the Catholic Church, moving their seat of power from Istanbul, Turkey, all the way to Rome, reconfigured based on our ancient African history a new religion that later on in turn enslaved us.
Okay, so now when we go all the way back prior to what we've come to know as far as Christianity or recent Christianity, it goes back to our ancient African roots?
Yes, there was a Christianity before Christ, if you will.
And what was it called?
It was considered, Heru was considered to be a Christ. It was more of a comedic understanding of how the universe worked. It was Heru and his 12 disciples baptized by a net born of his mother Asur, who we can see in the, if you look at some of the Vatican pictures, you could see Horus and his mom, who they now call Mary and Jesus, with the more European attachment to it. But this was a more ancient context, and it represented what Africans for thousands of years held before Christianity or even Christ was supposedly born and came on the scene.
So then, okay, now when we go back and we talk about BC or before Christ, that existed prior to that particular period of time?
At least 3,000 years.
Prior to that.
That's provable.
Okay.
Yes.
And so then why is it such a, or better yet, why don't we know about this in Sunday school?
That would be easily explainable. At one time, in this 400-year context of blacks being in America, we were, let's say not even 160 years ago, forced to teach Christianity. We were taught to teach Christianity because endemic in the book of Timothy, the book of Corinthians, we were taught that if we were slaves, that we should remain slaves. And so the doctrine abetted or aided the primary or majorative culture, which is white supremacy. So at one time, we were taught to teach Christianity with a gun to our head. That's why you see Birth of a Nation with Nat Turner. He didn't want to teach the religion the way they were teaching him to teach the religion, but you would see the slave master behind him ensuring that he taught the religion the way the Bible was telling us to teach it even today.
So now, considering that for quite some time, we have the so-called patriarchs of the Bible, Matthew, Mark, John, and Luke, Timothy, and all of the other individuals. So are you saying that all of these individuals did not exist?
They existed in the sense that Rudolph the reindeer and Dancer and Prancer and Santa Claus existed.
Now, aren't they fictitious in a certain way to be able to teach a certain lesson primarily to children?
They are.
Or I'm on a different page.
No, you're on the same page. I believe that Christianity, because we haven't researched, we're pretty much taking the word of people who wouldn't treat us right, and we're anticipating that somehow they're going to be godly enough to now teach us right. And what they have taught us was something that's not provable. What they taught us, even when I was studying church history at Moody Bible Institute, was partial facts. And what I mean by partial facts, they teach us about the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. What they don't teach us is that there were 5 subsequent councils where they were determining whether or not they were going to establish, if they were going to even give this character who was a deity, who was copied from Heru or Horus, which we now know. They were determining whether or not they were going to try to make people know if they were going to give them a real history. These councils went all the way up to what we consider to be the 15th century or the 1400s. And they finally decided, under the Sea of Power in Istanbul, Turkey, right before they went to Rome, that they were going to give him a historical background. And that's how this particular character, Jesus Christ, came into be. And a lot of people get offended by that because we are more dependent upon our Sunday school books to provide us factual information as opposed to doing our own research.
Okay. So what you're saying is that at a certain period in church history, there is a portion that we haven't been privy to.
Absolutely.
And so if we were to go back further in our documentation, in our study, and in our effort, we would be able to see what it is that you're saying to be the truth.
Absolutely.
Based on copious study.
Definitely. Diligent and copious study, for certain.
Okay. All right. So now, if that is the case, TK, then that means that the 3 major religions that exist are not correct as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So we have Christianity, Islam, and Judaism.
And Judaism.
And so those 3 are all connected.
Absolutely.
But even in their connection, they're still incorrect.
They're still incorrect. Let's look at the Jewish culture, for example.
Okay.
The Jewish culture is known, if you were to go to Ethiopia, and my wife's Ethiopia, if you go to Ethiopia and you look at the priesthood, the ancient priesthood, they're based on a Kemetic system that understands about Horus or Heru, his father.
And Kemetic is?
Kemetic, I'm sorry, I definitely need to back up and explain that. Kemetic is what we consider to be today Egyptian. Chem means black. Chemetic or chemistry means study of black, or the black community, the black culture. If you go back, it wasn't called Egypticus that the Greeks, named it. It was considered to be Kemet or Kemet. And so if you go back into that history, or if you go back, I like to just use ancient Egypt. Let's do that for the purposes of the listener. You go back into ancient Egyptian history or ancient Ethiopian history, which are one and the same. You'll find that what we're considered to be priesthood, Levitical priesthood rituals from the book of Leviticus, and what Judaism is supposedly represented today is nothing of a copy of something that looked more like us. And now today it doesn't look like us. And we can trace the history of these things. I'll give you another example. Judaism was known by James D. Rothschild. I know I'm saying a name that could be dismantling to an institution, but we know him from all the way from 1926 to 1948. 1946 was the first time the term Islam was ever used. We know that because Marcus Garvey, who lived prior to that, never referred to one Islam. He said blacks they're subdued by two major religions, Christianity and Mohammedanism. And he said neither which serve black people well. Mohammedanism, how come it wasn't considered to be Islam? How come he didn't know that? Because the first time the word was mentioned was at the Islamic Convention in 1926, which guess who actually sponsored this convention? Mr. Rothschild himself. So Jews concocted a religion, another religion that controlled a very illiterate and uneducated part of the Arabic society, who actually took over Northeast Africa, which we call the Middle East today, which was only done to politically remap that map so that we're looking at Israel like this is God's chosen people's land. These are the Israelites. If we really look at it, it's nothing but Northeast Africa, politically remapped, so we never reclaim that land, which is full of oil and resources. I don't know if that made sense, but if further asked me the question, that might actually make me expound a little further for lack of understanding.
Okay. And so Christianity was concocted, but however, it existed many years prior to what we came to know as Christianity through slavery.
Through slavery.
Okay. And so now if we, and you say that Islam was concocted.
Yes.
Through Rothschild.
Yes.
I apologize. Rothschild. Okay.
James D. Rothschild.
So now, what about Judaism?
Judaism was also a concocted religion. Some say, because if you look at church history, some say that it started in around 1100s. They can say that these whites came down and they studied Egyptian history. And what you're looking at now today, this is not just in the theological world, but even in the political world. They said we're looking at what we consider to be fake Jews. Why would they call them fake Jews? Because they're copying a culture and a history that is provable, that has thousands of years pre-existing, same functions and morals and culture and theological beliefs, if you will, except now we have a Kabbalah and we have a different form of it. So Judaism, I don't know how to best say this. I don't want to be looking like I'm trying to do a new book on the synagogue of Satan, but that book was written by a brother who was in Islam, showing that Judaism in and of itself was a newfound creation based on African history. And so you really didn't see Judaism come into be until after Islam was officially established in 1926. And then in 1948, you saw the resurgence of this Judaic Christian heritage that now said they want to reclaim this land that had a totally different name that they now call Israel. And so if you want some references, I think some good scholarly references, as we talked about him last time, is Dr. John G. Jackson. You could see some history on that. You could also read Dr. Williams' book. Dr. Williams has a book called The Origins of Christianity and the origins of Islam, and he breaks down specific time frames in history of these particular events.
TK,
Yes,
hold
sir.
it right there. We're going to take a pause, and then we'll come back on the other side of the break, and we'll talk a little bit more.
Absolutely.
You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station, 89.3 WKKC.
You're watching FocusTalk TV.
With your host, Dennis Snipe.
Hi, this is Dennis Snipe, host of the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show, daring to make a difference in our communities, entitled Focus Talk. And I'm looking for you to be the next featured guest on Focus Talk. If you're an entrepreneur, an author, community-based organization, artist, or if you're simply daring to make a difference in your community, I need to hear from you. Here's what I need you to do. Send an email to dennis@dennissnipe.com with your name, brief description of what you do, contact number, and why you should be a guest on Focus Talk. I look forward to hearing from you soon. In the meantime, please continue to stay focused. You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station, 89.3 is WKKC. This is Focus Talk, the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show, daring to make a difference in our communities. We're talking on a regular basis because the answers really matter. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about politics, religion, personal development, education, history, music, and then from time to time, we are spotlighting positive people who are doing positive things right here in the Inglewood community, throughout the Chicagoland area, as well as the entire United States. I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. Joining me in the studio today is Dr. Carolyn Anderson. Dr. Anderson, how are you?
I am doing amazing. I'm in the awesome Windy City.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Thank you so very much for being here and being a part of today's show. So tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. So I am the new host for the Dr. Carolyn Show. I am a TV personality, so I have made several appearances on Steve Harvey's show when he was here, as well as Fox, and I'm an expert life coach. So I deal with issues such as you're talking about today,
Right.
Relationships, finance, and I touch into a little bit of political arena when it comes to justice, especially justice for the underprivileged, those who don't have access to certain care. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I love life. I like to live life fully every day, and I'm a transformer. So I focus a lot on the mind and the brain and helping people to shift their mindsets.
So, Dr. Anderson, as it relates to individuals who are working every day, going to school, living life, what are the most, how can I say, the most popular issues or what people are dealing with the most?
Limitations, and it's a belief system, and so there is a systematic slavery, is what I call it, that has been set up. So no longer in our communities are we seeing the master with the whip and the chain around the neck, but it does exist systematically, meaning there is a threshold, there is a limitation of where you can rise. Perfect example, my husband had an opportunity to rise to a vice president of an organization, but when he applied for the position, they took it down, and of course they hired someone of a different race, and he had to train that person. So there is just a ceiling of how far you can go. And so in the communities, I find, especially for the young people, there is not a lot of access or opportunities for them because the older individuals are staying in the jobs, and they do not want to train these young individuals to take over. And go ahead. And I was going to say, and that now creates a system where you try to find the out because you have to survive, and sometimes the out is not positive. Yeah.
So what is the best remedy that individuals can utilize in order to overcome or to be able to do something different where you don't get to the edge?
Right. In fact, we're going to be having our Dr. Carolyn show here at the Kennedy King studio at WYCC. This Thursday, we're taping our first show, and one of the shows is called I Survived, and the second one is called Second Chances. And we're literally talking about that, about re-entry, about giving people an opportunity for a second chance. When I say systematic setup, there is really not much the individual person can do. It takes a community. So it's systematic. If I'm here so I can be a voice of influence. There is no daytime talk show that is syndicated that is in Chicago. For history, that has never been the case. You know, we've had Phil Donahue, Oprah, Steve, and now there's just an open market. And so my goal is to come and bring back the jobs and hire our people and bring Kennedy King, you know, the communications department here. Where is their access? They won't be able to have any. So it is not an individual thing because communities are broken because of fatherlessness. And so having they're in the prisons and that they're not at the homes. And so there's a systematic breakdown, and everything starts at home. And so if a person has an opportunity, they know they have a job that they can go to, and they're not afraid that tomorrow I may lose my job, but something's stable, then that's where the transformation begins to take place in the mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Anderson, let's shift gears just for a moment.
Sure.
So from day one, have you always been an advocate for individuals wanting to help, wanting to change, wanting to be able to give individuals an opportunity to do something different?
Yes, I have been like that my entire life. I joined the military at age 18.
Oh, wow.
So after I left high school, I started college for half a semester. In fact, I ended up at University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee and could not afford it. But I knew I had to make a difference. And so I joined the military to be all I can be and served my time and my country. And when I came out of the military, I was homeless. I had nowhere to stay, which is a lot of vets, nowhere to stay. And I made a decision that if I got an opportunity to be able to be something, that I will always reach back and pull those along with me. It's always been my endeavor. When I was in high school, I made the cheerleading. No matter what I put my mind to, I made it. But who didn't, I would pull them along with me. And I would say, hey, let's give this person an opportunity. Justice is like my core. And I believe there is an author of a book called Westmore. And he said that potential is there for everyone, but not opportunity. And so we all have the potential, right, to be something.
That's true.
But not the opportunity. And that's what I'm hoping to be able to provide, to bring life to the city.
Dr. Anderson, tell me about your book.
Which one?
Let's see. Let's start with the first one.
Sure. So I wrote a book this year that became #1 bestseller internationally within an hour. I launched it here in Chicago, as a matter of fact, downtown, and it just became bestseller. It's about living a healthy life, which equals a healthy land. So, you know, the land is, I would say, pretty sick right about now. A lot of, killings and shootings and injustices. And so I wrote that book because health it exists in 4 parts. You need a healthy finance, you need healthy relationships, you need healthy faith, and you need money. So you need the money, you need the relationships, the education, and so life exists in 4 quadrants. You need that balance, and that's what the book is all about. Having that equilibrium, being able to, because some people are filthy rich, but they have bad relationships, or others have great relationships, awesome husband and wife, but they're broke, right? So you find the spectrum that it goes from one to the other. I like to refer to one of my mentors, Steve Jobs. He was a multimillionaire, but his health cost him his life, right? And you will find sometimes in some of the inner cities and the communities, there's no access to healthcare. There's also no money, but there may be a close-knit family that hang together, right? But the problems still exist. If I want to just go buy a car tomorrow, I can't, because then I'm limited by a system, credit score. So there's always a systematic thing behind life, and that keeps you bound and keep you down. So my goal is wealth, just getting out of the system, building wealth, and wealth is more than just money, it's your health. It is having a great state of mind, healthy relationships, and opportunities.
Now, is the balance as easy to obtain as we think that it is, or it really takes hard work?
It's intentional.
Okay.
It's very hard work. I just happen to be that kind of, I think the military really helped me with that perseverance, but it is very hard work. It takes a long time to get to that point. But once you find and start finding that it's working for you, then it's easy to continue with it. But it's not an easy factor because some people don't really know what the balance is. They don't even know what it is that they need in life. Some people just think I need more money. Well, you get the money, but now what? You know, a lot of people who win the lottery, they become broke in a year because you have to know how to maintain that. Or all of a sudden you have extra cousins, right? Remember me? So, no, it's not easy, but it does have a starting point. And the first step is to realize that I want to live life fully every day. When you realize that I want to live intentionally and I want to be able to make the most of the life that I have, because we only have one, that's the first step, making a decision.
Now, despite the maybe pitfalls and the difficulties, now how do we create that balance and kind of work all of those things in? Because you're going to have difficulties in your life. You're going to have hard times and situations, but the balance in being able to overcome that and then living successfully, living prosperously.
Absolutely.
Is it that difficult?
It is difficult. The first step, though, the first thing to start doing is what I teach in my coaching practice. You get a piece of sheet of paper, draw a circle on there, and the circle represents 24 hours. It's like a clock, right? And for 7 days, you write down what you did the 24 hours before that. When you look at it, you will see time wasters. You will see that there are time where I cannot account for. You may have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of sleep. That's 8 and 8, 16. There's another 8 hours. What happened? You know, was it social media? Did I just breeze through it? If you can't account for every minute, every second of the day, then you're wasting time. So the first thing is to recognize, what am I using my time to do? Because time cannot be managed. The sun rises when it wants to, and it goes down when it wants to. We can't manage it. We can just use it effectively. So one of the huge things is time wasters, because the time is all you have to be creative and to think and to be able to put things into action. But if you spend 7 hours and you have no idea what you did, you're just watching TV, they are filthy rich. You know, I DVR them so I can watch it later. But yeah, the time awareness is number one. It is the most valuable asset in life, more than money. It's time.
All right.
Yeah, because time is money.
That it is.
Yes.
That it
yes.
is.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Anderson, when can we expect to see your show?
Well, you can expect to see my show the first week in December. Okay. So we're doing the recording this week, and then next week is Thanksgiving. So, you know, all the editing and all that cool stuff. So it comes out the first week in December, along with another book that I wrote called The 10 Laws of Leadership. Leadership is very tainted right now. And so I talk about the laws of how to lead and how to lead well. And then it's my hope to do something completely different that has never happened before. Most TV shows start in September. It's always, you know, the new season and all that kind of cool stuff. But I want to start mine in January. Something different for Chicago. I want to put Chicago on the map, let people know that this is a city of wealth, that there is greatness here, that this is the place where we started the first skyscrapers. This is the place where media pushes through. This is a place where love exists. This is the city where you can drive just 1 or 2 blocks and you see any kind of culture, any kind of race. It is the place where it's an epiphany of what the United States is, and it's the centerpiece, and that's why the city has fought so hard. It is not broke. I refuse to believe that, and I do not consider this city to be Chirac. It is not a combination of what's going on in Iraq. We have to begin to speak well about the city, and that will draw like a magnet, because we attract what we speak. And so we have to begin to change our vocabulary and to say this is a place of wealth. It's greatness. It's here, so that we can start to see the shift and the transformation.
Dr. Anderson, after someone views your show or they're part of your live studio audience, what do you want them to come away believing, knowing, or understanding? That
my life matters. I want them to be validated. I believe so many people feel undervalued or not valued at all, like they're not important. I need everyone there. There are students coming to be a part of the show. I want them to know that you made this show a difference. I want the janitor to know you made this show a difference. Those that clean the bathroom, I want the greeters, I want the parking attendant, and I want the viewers and the guests to know that we're all equal. That even though you were the guest on the show, you're now no greater than the person that said welcome. You're no greater than the one that wiped off the seats. We all had to work together to make this happen. I can't be a great host if I have nobody to talk to. So I want everyone to feel valuable. And I chose this place not because it was the greatest area. I chose it because it wasn't. Because I want people to see that I'm real, I'm authentic, I'm coming into the city. I could have chosen NBC Studios downtown. It's empty. Steve Harvey's no longer there. But I chose this even knowing all the things that were happening. And they have happened.
Right.
And I'm still here. And I still did the show here. I still put the money back into this organization and into the lives of the people, because I believe that one life can change another life, and we can transform every single person's life. So when they see me on television, they'll say, that's the real deal. I'm a beauty queen. You know, I'm Mrs. Black America. But I could have chosen anywhere, but I chose Chicago.
All right. That is awesome. Now, you're not from Chicago.
I'm not.
Okay. Milwaukee?
Correct.
Okay.
Wisconsin. So yeah, relocating here. My firm is, my coaching consulting firm was in Atlanta and Orlando. And so I'm leaving the hot to come to the cold. And so there must be something great here.
Yes.
Because I'm doing that here. And I love it. I love every bit of it. I love the downtown. I love out here. I'm learning that there's different communities.
Yes.
In Chicago, and people will ask me, were you on the South? I'm like, I don't know. I just took Uber. So I love it. I love it. It's a city of wealth.
Have you had a chance to go around the city to see different things?
I did.
Yet?
I did. So I did a tour.
Okay.
I wanted to see the different areas, the corners to the corners. So I did from Midway Airport. Is that what it's called?
Midway, right.
Yeah. And I went all the way to the tip, and I did the expressways, which I'll never drive on.
No?
No, because it's bumper to bumper.
It's an experience.
It's an experience. So I did in downtown. So I'm always downtown, and just come back around in Hyde Park. And I also did the boat tours because I wanted to understand the economical side and how things were structured.
Right.
And the history. I like to learn history because it tells you your future. You don't live in your history, but the history tells you your future. And there's a lot of people that has put wealth in here.
Yeah.
You know, the city was burnt down. And look at us today, right? We come back. So we are strong, and we're going to come back. We're going to bounce back from this economic crisis, and we're going to create jobs. We have to. We cannot rely on a system to do that. We, the people, have to do it.
Indeed.
That means become an entrepreneur. Own something. Okay. Absolutely.
Now, are there any favorite parts of the city that you've seen thus far that you really enjoy?
I like the lakefront. I like Navy Pier because I'm military.
Okay.
So anything that has to do with a ship, that represents being a soldier or warrior, I like that. So I like the Navy Pier area because that was truly a pier. That's where the ships came in, and now it's a tourism, right?
That's right.
But I like that area because I like water. I love water. I was born in the island of Jamaica.
Okay.
So water, Caribbean Sea, no problem country.
Okay.
So anything with water, I like that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Dr. Anderson, I really enjoyed having you here, and I look forward to you coming back and sharing more information about who you are, what you do, and then the incredible work that you are leading not only here in Chicago, but all over the land with your books and speaking and all of the work that you do. So I thank you very much for coming. And please know that the door here at Focus Talk is always open. You don't have to knock. Just come on through.
I love it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Awesome.
You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station, 89.3 WKKC.
You're watching Focus Talk TV
with your host, Dennis Snipe.
All right.
Pretty good.
1722.
Awesome sauce. Love it.
Great. Now, you know what? I did not ask you. You're in tune to Chicago's most popular college music radio station, 89.3 is WKKC. This is Focus Talk, the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show, daring to make a difference in our communities. We're talking on a regular basis because the answers really matter. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about politics, religion, personal development, history, music, and then from time to time, we are spotlighting positive people who are doing positive things right here in the Inglewood community, throughout the Chicagoland area, as well as the entire United States. I'm your host, Dennis Snipe. Joining me in the studio today is D.A. Smart, who is the CEO of Terra Records. D.A., how are you, sir?
I'm chilling like a bug on the ceiling. How you feeling, Dennis?
I am all right, man. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yes, sir.
You've been doing a lot of different things. And so give me some information on not only what you're doing now, we're going to talk about that,
Okay.
but how did you come to be not only the CEO of Terra Records, but also would it be safe to say that you're a lyricist, or that you are a MC? That's kind of a dated term. But
I like that dated term.
Yeah?
I like to be a MC, EMCEEIM. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm definitely a lyricist. You can't be an MC if you're not a lyricist. So
okay, all right. So
one
now,
of
is there
them
a
both in the
difference
same.
between the two?
They
Between
pretty
being
much both in the same. If you're an MC, you got lyrics. You know what I'm saying? If you're a rapper,
Okay.
you do ticky-tack, tip-top rap, whatever they want you to do. You do what the powers that be tell you to do. But if you're a real MC, you stick to the root. And the root of hip-hop is lyrical prowess.
Okay. Now, you know what? I was going to talk about this, but since you brought it up immediately, as far as the root of hip hop, where's the root of hip hop now?
Oh,
is
man,
it still present?
It's in the streets. It's not on any. It's not on a lot of the media airwaves. It's at Terra Records with D.A. Smart. It's down with Cedric Woolboy, in Chicago. It's with a couple of these underground artists that's still doing it the way it's supposed to be done. But a lot of these people that's famous and they probably familiar with, that's a watered down version of what lyricist is.
Okay. So, in your opinion, what needs to happen at this juncture?
In my opinion, what needs to happen is it needs to be a fair shake for everybody, not just one type of rap style or one.
What does that entail, a fair shake?
Meaning, we need some raps with messages in them, along with raps that's talking about the streets. We need raps with a message, the street, the hood, love, talking about all these different type of subjects, not just one subject. Most rap today is just talking about killing black people and carrying guns and getting money. So
where did the breakdown occur? Because my take, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if there's a breach and if we don't fix the breach, then it's just going to happen again.
Absolutely. It occurred when the record company owners decided that they want to control hip hop. Hip hop was a thing in the hood at first. It was something that they didn't control, they didn't create. So they threw a little money at it and directed it to where they wanted it to go. So they took it from the message. Not saying that hip hop wasn't grimy and gritty when it was in its infant stage, because it was. But you had, what's the word I want to use? More of a choice. You had BDP, then you had NWA, and you had Ice Cube and them, but you had a more variety. That's the word I was looking for. You had a more variety of choice of hip hop you want to listen to. Right now, it ain't no variety. It's just everybody rapping about the same thing. So it's not by mistake that happened. I think it's by design.
So then, therefore, the whole issue was the money piece then, right?
Absolutely.
So how do we galvanize against that happening again, where it's not just about the money?
Oh man, that's like saying, how do we get black people to stand up in America? It's very difficult to do. We all know it's simple. All we have to do is have unity, come together, do something together, stand on the same stimulus and make things happen. But that's the problem. We can't stand together for some reason. We can't come together. We don't come together. We talk it, but do we do it? So that's what's making it difficult for us to make things happen the way we need it to happen, because we don't stand in unison.
DA, how did it all start for you as far as hip hop is concerned, being not only a participant but becoming a mover and a shaker where you're now the CEO of Terra Records? How did it get to the point? How did it start for you?
Well, it started from, early age, coming up, listening to music, liking people like Michael Jackson, liking songs like Play That Beat, watching Beat Street, watching Breaking, which led me to hip hop. I started off as a break dancer, then that eventually moved over to me rapping. And, back when I was rapping, there wasn't no internet. So you had to come outside, go to talent shows, and you had to be good for people to remember you. So that was my grind. I grind in Chicago. I grind in St. Louis. I grind in Wisconsin. I grind wherever they was throwing a talent show, DA was there. So I guess because of that, I was known in circles without even having a record out. You know what I mean? So I guess they called me one of the pioneers of Chicago hip hop, one of those who broke it, because when I was rapping, it wasn't even on the radio. Most radio stations were saying no rap, never had it, never will. Before one of our illustrious brothers by the name of Pink House, who was also from Robert Taylor, started playing hip hop right here at WKKC. We also had hip hop at another station in Hyde Park that was, supporting local hip hop artists and the hip hop movement. So these were the only outlets that we had, and we used them as much as we possibly can. I'm just devastating, abolishing, smashing mostly around rough territory. So everywhere I go, I crush MCs and I give a great show. So people fell in love with the energy and the lyrics and the ability that I had in this rap form that made me DA Smart, the Black Terror. So I think that's what gave me who I am and why I'm the CEO of Terra Records right now, because I've been signed with record labels, dealt with record labels, and the most record labels just want a master-slave relationship. I'm not into that. Somebody taught me that that's not a good relationship to have. If it ain't a win-win relationship, then it's not a good relationship. So a lot of the negotiations that I did with record companies didn't pan out too well because I wasn't into being no one's slave. So I eventually got signed to RCA. They gave me what I want, but they had a plan, shelf him. So when they shelved me, I got Rap Coalition owner Wendy Day to get me off the label. So once she got me off the label, I started along with Trax and Leroy Burton. We created Creators Way Associated Labels. That's where you get Twister, Do or Die, DA Smart, Walk With Me, and things of that nature. We did that. That fell by the wayside, and I wasn't going to sign with nobody else after that. It was independent all the way, so that's how I started Terra Records and became the CEO of that.
Tell me a little bit about Walk With Me.
Walk With Me was a song that I created in 1996. I was tired of listening to rappers represent their communities, and the only rapper that represented our community was people who was talking about the Buckingham Fountain or the Sears Tower. They wasn't talking about the Chicago I knew. So I wanted to express us from a level that I see it, and I saw it from the street level, from the projects, from the level that they was afraid to express it from. So that's how Walk With Me evolved. And once Trax gave me the beat that was perfect for a song like that, Walk With Me was born.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about you talked about it just a moment ago about the record industry itself. So is it the same now as it was then? So if I had something that was really good, would it be better for me just to self-promote, just to do it myself, or actually go to a label?
The names and faces have changed, but the game is still the same. So yes, it's the same. It'd be best that you make your own lane in this game. Do something extraordinary by yourself so that they will come to you and you will be more in a position of power to negotiate with them in that way better. That's how I feel. I think you should go the independent route. All artists should, because that's the best way.
Okay. All right. Now, you've done something recent that is making its way. What's the name of it?
I done something called Where My Mob's At. I done Walk With Me, And now I'm looking for where my mom's at in light of all of the police shootings in our neighborhoods and black on black crime in our neighborhood. I feel like the vanguard of our neighborhood is the soldiers that's in our neighborhood, is the street soldiers that's in our neighborhood. And if we get them to get on one accord, then we can do what's necessary to protect our neighborhood, to protect our community, to protect our children, to protect our women, because the police ain't gonna do it, and to protect us from the police. So that's why I'm calling on the soldiers to stand up and be counted in the neighborhood in which they claim. So that's where my mob's at. That's coming out next. That'll be my next single on Terror Records.
Okay, all right. So tell me about What If.
What If is a single that is just been released last month by Terror Records manager and Pitbull, the one and only, the General, my brother, my artist. What If is a song that's given a couple of what ifs. You know, what if this happened? Would things be different if Chief Malik and Larry Hoover was out? What if Harold Washington was still alive? What if? You know, it's just a what if. It gives you an idea of what could have been in case certain key persons was alive and still in the game to do their thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, do this for me, DA. Set it up for me. We'll take a listen, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more.
All right. Everybody in Radio Land, check this out. This is my man, the General, the Pitbull of Terror Records, releasing his new single, and I think you all will enjoy it. Check it out. It's called What If.
89.3 WKKC.
Local to global.
What if, hey yo. What if was a fifth? What if? I swear we'll all be drunk, man. What if I ain't had no place to go? Really didn't have no place to live. What if I ain't had no money, didn't have no job, couldn't really take care of my kids? What if I never really had no phone, never had no bars, never had no spin? What if everybody just mind they biz? I'm just saying, what if I ain't had no place to go? Really didn't have no place to live. What if I ain't had no money, didn't have no job, couldn't really take care of my kids? What if I never really had no phone, never had no bars, never had no spin? What if everybody just mind they biz? I'm just saying, what if I ain't never really got no dough, never had no drink, never had no smoke? What if I ain't never got nothing, no nothing, walking around saying that I'm always broke? What if I never really had no dreams, never had no faith, never had no hope? What if I never did catch that case? What if I never had to go and sling dope? What if I never got shot that day? Game making, man, I was just a little shorty. What if I never had the Glock that day? Them punk motherfuckers in the hood tried to rob me. What if my mother would've stayed with my father? What if I never been there for my daughter? What if I never been there for my boys? Where would I be with my life being order? What if we started shooting back at the cops? Instead of killing us, we'll start killing them. And what if Emmanuel did resign? Would the murder in the Chi-Town come to an end? What if we really did start getting justice? What if they start treating us like them? Or what if everybody just mind they biz? I'm just saying, what if I ain't had no place to go? Really didn't have no place to live. What if I ain't had no money, didn't have no job, couldn't really take care of my kids? What if I never really had no phone, never had no bars, never had no spin? What if everybody just mind they biz? I'm just saying, what if I ain't had no place to go? Really didn't have no place to live. What if I ain't had no money, didn't have no job, couldn't really take care of my kids? What if I never really had no phone, never had no bars, never had no spin? What if everybody just mind they biz? I'm just saying, what if Big and Pac would've been here today? What if they never had beef anyway? What if Easy would've never met Dre? Would he still be here instead of dying from the AIDS? What if black people would've never been slaves? What if white folks would've never left the cave? What if Trayvon would've never wore a hoodie? What if Lil Corn would've just got tased? What if they did free Larry Hoover and Chief Malik? Would the problem stop with the game makers then put down their guns and try to come together? Probably not. What if R. Kelly would've never met Aaliyah? What if Aaliyah would've never ever died? Would she still be killing the charts and still on top if she was alive? What if D-Rose would've never got hurt? What if he'd have never missed all them games? What if MJ never came to the shot? Do you think he'd have still won all them rings? What if everybody believed in one God? Do you think this world would be the same? What if everybody just mind they biz? I'm just saying, what if I ain't had no place to go? Really didn't have no place to live. What if I ain't had no money, didn't have no job, couldn't really take care of my kids? What if I never really had no phone, never had no bars, never had no spin? What if everybody just mind they biz? I'm just saying, what if I ain't had no place to go? Really didn't have no place to live. What if I ain't had no money, didn't have no job, couldn't really take care of my kids? What if I never really had no phone, never had no bars, never had no spin? What if everybody just mind they biz? saying, what if Martin Luther King would've never got murdered? What if Malcolm X would've never got killed? What if Farrakhan would've never met Elijah Muhammad? What if Rosa Parks would've gave her seat up? And what if Bush would've never been president? And what if Harold Washington was still alive? What if, haven't you ever asked yourself these questions? What if, it's just something to think about, you know? I'm just saying, what if.
We're more than music. 89.3 WKKC. This is Focus Talk, the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show daring to make a difference in our communities. We're talking to D.A. Smart, who is the CEO of Terror Records. And that is your latest single, right, D.A.?
Absolutely. That's the latest single. The first single we released was Favorite Song by Tracy, which is in rotation here on KKC as well. This is our second release, and it's What If by The General. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. What was your, outside of the apparent, what was your inspiration in creating that song?
What If? Well, it's the General song. It's my artist song. He was looking for something that would represent him and what he's about. And even though he's not a pro-black rapper, he's an MC. He's a lyricist, and he liked to dibble and dabble in different subjects when it comes to making music. And this, in my opinion, was one of the best songs that he created in the last few months, because he make music all the time. So when he made this one, I said this should be a single that you put out to let the people know who you are.
General Scope?
No, he's just The General.
The General.
D.A. General.
D.A. General.
You did. Soldier.
All right.
Absolutely. Inglewood.
Tell me about F Your Couch.
This was this was a song that was produced by my illustrious brother Joe Blackula, that my manager at the time, may he rest in peace, David Pierce, asked me to do, just to create a problem in the hip hop thing. He know me from being in Robert Taylor, you know, and he knew I was a battle rapper all the time. He said, man, it's time for DA to diss somebody, you know. It's time for you to be the DA I knew growing up. He said, man, diss that fool Rick Ross, man. He talking about he from Chicago, you know, he like Larry Hoover. He ain't never been to Chicago. Plus he a turnkey. You know, he was a turnkey before he was a superstar. He was a police almost. So he just false flagging in the game, man. Once you go at him, you know. And F Your Couch was born as a result of that, especially after I got the beat from Joe Blackula, and it had Dave Chappelle in there talking crazy. So I just wedded my rap in a way that it could fit what he created, and F Your Couch was born.
Okay. Now, where is it available?
Oh, it's available on iTunes, Amazon, everywhere, and any media source you got out there. You could just look it up. D.A. Smart, F Your Couch.
You're watching Focus Talk TV
With your host, Dennis Snipe.
Hi, this is Dennis Snipe, host of the thought-provoking, solution-oriented talk show daring to make a difference in our communities, entitled Focus Talk. And I'm looking for you to be the next featured guest on Focus Talk. If you're an entrepreneur, an author, community-based organization, artist, or if you're simply daring to make a difference in your community, I need to hear from you. Here's what I need you to do. Send an email to dennis@dennissnipe.com with your name, brief description of what you do, contact number, and why you should be a guest on Focus Talk. I look forward to hearing from you soon. In the meantime, please continue to stay focused.
If you can't be a highway, then be a trail. If you can't be the sun, then be a star. Because it isn't by size that you win or fail, but be the best at whatever you are. If you can't be a highway, then be a trail. If you can't be the sun, then be a star. Because it isn't by size that you win or fail, but be the best at whatever you are. And stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused.
Joe.
Blackula.